Welcome everyone back to the Crimson 15 Podcast. I'm your host, Crimson Sin. Be sure to follow us over on Twitter at C15 Podcast. Join the discussion over on Discord, link in description below. And if you're enjoying the reviews, be sure to sub, like, share, and hit that bell for notifications. Podcast character designs done by Demon Artie. Follow her over on Twitter at Artie Demon. You're going to find some amazing artwork, fan art, originals, redesigns, just amazing stuff. So be sure to check her out and give her a like, a follow, and a retweet. Episode 5 of Carmen Sandiego, the Boston Tea Party caper, and it's okay. Nothing really happens. I mean, if you really like Zach and Ivy, I suppose this is your episode, but we just get to learn their backstory and to learn about Carmen's first caper and how they met. It's not bad. It just takes it just wastes a lot of time, and I feel like Shadow Sun in this episode where he's like, wow, like he even mentions how long it took them to get to the point where the story got interesting. But it opens up and they're at that Carmen Sandiego's outerwear, like that building that they were going to use for they were thinking about buying it to have an HQ, have a, home base. And, they're kind of checking it out and everything. And we find out that, Carmen's not too keen on it. She's kind of like, oh, it's nice and all, but I don't think she likes the idea of having a base because V.I.L.E has a base and she feels like that's not us. We don't operate the way that they do. And I kind of understand it since she's always traveling most of the time. There's no real reason to have a base. Not like she has like an R&D department and a bunch of people that work out of there. It's just the 4 of them. And before that, it was, if you count Player or whatever. But Player says, hey, you got some things that they're going to, V.I.L.E has something about this super race car thing. They're going to try to steal it or something like that. And then that's when Zach and I were like, oh, cool, race cars, because apparently they were big into racing. We knew that Zach was the wheelman, that was his job on the team because he's always the one driving the cars and picking things up. And he's an all right driver. He does pretty good. And Ivy, less so for usefulness. She just runs distraction all the time. And apparently we learned more about her backstory, but we never saw that in the previous episode. So it kind of doesn't make any sense. As Shadow sounds like, I still don't know why your crew consists of these 2 idiots. But they're like, oh, let me tell you our backstory. So when they were in Boston, they basically lived on the streets. They didn't have any family, but they were into racing, and this was going to be like their ticket out. So Zach was the racer, and Ivy was the mechanic. At what point in season 1 did it ever occur to you that, oh yeah, she's the fix-it girl. She's the grease monkey of the team? Not once. She didn't do anything. She picked locks, she ran distraction, and wore wigs. That's literally all she ever did in season 1. But apparently she built this car from the ground up, so she knows engines and cars and stuff. It would have been nice if we would have got some of that in season 1. But doesn't Ivy look nicer with her hair down a little bit? Like it's a little bit longer? I don't know. I guess even though technically it's still short, it's not even barely to the bottom of her neck. I just think it looks nicer on her. But yeah, I guess they were working their way up the amateur leagues all the way to they had one more race to go before they got to pro level where they can actually start making money. They're going over the racetrack and there's one deadly hairpin, and she's trying to warn Zach. I mean, it's not even, is it even foreshadowing if it happens 5 seconds later? But yeah, guess what happens on that hairpin? Then we get to meet this guy. Just look at him. Yeah, douchey McDouchebag. Yeah, he's a douche. He's like the rival. Oh, getting Zach's going, oh, you guys are just amateurs. You don't belong in a professional track. The race starts up, and of course, it's them 2 in the lead. And this is a trope I always hate. It happens in a lot of cartoons. You cannot talk to someone in another vehicle when you're driving. Maybe if you were going 5 miles an hour. For those who can drive or whatever, just roll down your window when you're going 40 miles an hour and see if you can talk to the car next to you. It's not possible, especially while you're wearing a helmet. I just hate that. It's just a dumb trope. But they're racing and they're coming up on that turn. And guess what Zach does? He gets in the lead because he doesn't slow down. You think he's going to make the turn, but nope. And it's a kind of a cool effect where you think he's making the curve, but it flips him and he totals his vehicle. They lose and they're out. This must be the worst racetrack on Earth. Because was this a single lap race? What? I've never heard of a single lap race that was so short. It was less than a minute. It should have been multiple laps. They could have done a much better job with the racing. I did like the fact that, Ivy runs out there to make sure her brother's okay. That's always good. Then we find out that Zach and Ivy borrowed this money for this car from some like, gangster guy. And now not only did they lose their car, so they need more money, they were unable to pay the first loan back. So they're lucky that they didn't, Mr. McGregor's going to break my legs. But this shark guy is basically tells him, hey, there's this donut shop that has the worst donuts in Boston, but they're always getting shipments. There must be something up there. Must be money. Must be, goods or something. You guys are going to break in there and get it for me. And that's going to pay me back. And then whatever's left over, you can use to rebuild your car and then start your racing career. So, Zach and Ivy used to be thieves, I suppose, or pickpockets living on the streets. Zach's not feeling good about it. And Ivy's like, this is all we got. We have nothing. What are we going to do for money? And, so they get their ski masks on and they're going to break into this donut shop. Zach's the idiot. Ivy, of course, cracks the code to get in. And Zach's wearing his ski mask backwards. He's like worthless in this whole entire episode except for driving. That's like the only thing he can do. So they walk around, flashlights, they're looking around, and they run into Carmen. And that's when they first meet her. And they're like, oh yeah, that's the end of the story. But of course, it's not the end of the story. Carmen tells her side of it. She just got off of V.I.L.E Island. It's been a few months. It should have been like years, right? Because she went from that to this. That's not months. This is like, hey, there's some printing plates that got stolen from the treasury and they've been printing their own money and then laundering it through different services. Very evil thing to do. It wasn't, trying to sell instant rice like in season 1. This is an actual villain plot, which is nice. And this is her first job. She's going to go down there, steal the plates, and find out where the courier dropped off the plates and the money, and then shut down the whole operation. Oh, pretty cool. Good, solid plan. But she notices that Zach and Ivy are breaking in. She's like, what the heck? Is this another, team? And then as she's observing them, it's like, oh, these are amateurs. They have no idea what they're getting themselves into. Yeah, they're lucky they didn't kill themselves. Then it cuts back to that scene where they first met her, and then Carmen's like, what are you guys doing here? And then they kind of start having a little argument. But she's not going to fight them. It's so funny. She could have just easily knocked them out, but she doesn't. We see the two cleaner guys. Are these the only two dudes that do anything, this tall guy and little guy? But they drop off a stack of cash. It's a ton of cash in this giant vault. Carmen's not interested in that. She wants to know where those plates are so she can stop the whole operation. Zach and Ivy are like, damn, we need to get some of that money, get some of that Skrilla. But nope, they're not going to be able to crack that safe. So they're going to chase after Carmen, just saying where she's going because she's going where the big dough is. She stole Zach's keys without him knowing. I love Carmen's good. So when she pushed him up against the wall, she pickpocketed, but see if he had any good stuff. That's like her master skill is pickpocketing. That's awesome. Stole his car. She ends up hot wiring another car, like that little delivery truck. So that's like another skill she has that they've never shown in season 1, but apparently she can. They start chasing her. They're all three of them are in this kind of like this silly car chase. Carmen runs a red light, swerves, totals her vehicle, comes out, no damage, which that's a pretty hard hit. And she fell pretty far, but Carmen's like, hey, she jumps into Zach and Ivy's van, follow that car. And of course, she's starting to see the value in having them on the team because now she has a wheelman. So she can focus on other things, not having to steal vehicles and stuff. They keep chasing this guy. They take a certain freeway and that leads to their harbor since they know Boston. But I know a shortcut. They could take the shortcut and they find this big old yacht. That's where it gets dropped off. We see Lechev and Topo, the mole up there. So we know this is where the drop off for the plates are. Then we probably get the weakest edutainment section in the whole entire season 2 so far. She's like wanting to know about Boston and they talk about the Boston Tea Party. Nothing that even relates to anything that they're doing. Like when they did it in the other episodes, like in the Fashionista episode, it made sense why they would want to know those things. This makes absolutely no sense why they would need to know any of these things. He talks about, the Boston Tea Party, the Boston Red Sox, clown chowder, Boston baked beans, like silly, stupid stuff that doesn't mean anything. Somehow this impresses Carmen, like, okay. But they see that the plates are being dropped off. Carmen's like, okay, we got to go get these things. She's going to make her, she's going to get on the boat. And of course, Zach and Ivy are like, yeah, we can help you out. She just ties them up saying, hey, stay here. It's for your own good. You don't need to be doing any of this. Which is smart because these are just regular civilians. She doesn't want to get them all caught up in this whole V.I.L.E thing and everything. So she ties them to a pole that's really short. I guess it was expedient and she didn't have time to find a decent spot to tie them up. But they just stand up so they can get off the pole. Then they kind of shove off, which they didn't need to. I don't know why they did that because all it did was throw themselves on the floor. I don't know. Someone explain it to me why they had to do that. Carmen's making her way up there, and Tweedledee and Tweedledum are like hopping because they're tied together. So like hopping their way down the dock. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna just cause problems. They go by one of the portholes and they see Mole talking to Coach, and she's like, "Oh, we need to make a bigger presence in the United States. We're gonna use this money to buy up a bunch of properties, and they're gonna use those as drop houses, safe houses, all that kind of stuff." And of course, this pisses them off because Boston's my town. And she calls it Beantown. And that was the thing when they mentioned that Zach doesn't like when people say it. So when she says it, he like yells it and blows their cover. I know they had to put in a way for them to get caught, but that's really stupid. Because how does he know that these people don't have guns and stuff like that, and they're going to just kill you? Because they mentioned like the mob and stuff like that. Yeah, they don't play around. So Zach, the dummy, ends up getting them freaking caught. Ugh. It's so dumb. It bothers me. Get back to Carmen. She's, snooping around. She finds the plates, and the chef's like, hold it right there. And then when she turns around, he's like, whoa, black sheep. He's like, oh, I'll go by Carmen now. And this, I think, is actually pretty cool. The chef's like, hey, I don't want to fight you. Just put the plates down, walk away, and I will pretend I never saw you. Pretty honorable for a bad guy, because to him, and I guess to everyone else before this, they still considered black sheep to be like a friend. Like they still cared about her, which I thought was kind of cool. And Carmen uses that to her advantage. I guess that kind of made her more the bad guy in the moral sense. So she goes to go to attack him, but of course he's kind of a puss. So you're like, ah, and she just sneaks by him. Zach and Ivy are trying to come up with some type of oh, we were lobster fishing, and then Malt's going to just, get rid of him. She runs into him, and then he's even shocked to see Carmen. What the heck, Carmen? Here's the thing. She looks so radically different from the last time they saw her. I'm surprised they actually recognized her, but I mean, is there more of an ugly duckling story between girl Carmen and woman Carmen? She became that beautiful swan like no one's business. They're kind of having this standoff, and they're like, "Oh, this is your new crew. Like you guys, you tied them." I was like, "No, they were already tied up." So it's like, who the hell are these two idiots? And Lechev's like, "Hey, we're gonna toss these idiots overboard unless you give me those plates." Carmen does the right thing, gives them the plates, and don't kill them, because if they're tied up, yeah, you're gonna sink like a stone. Toss her overboard. And you can see, he's hesitant. He doesn't want to hurt his, what was his friend. They were all this tight-knit group. So he's kind of doesn't want to fight her. But he ends up having to because Carmen attacks him, and then, she easily beats him, throws him overboard. She throws him like a life preserver, but whatever. She runs into Lechev, and he already has the plate, so he doesn't necessarily need to fight her. So he just, books it. He uses his abilities. He's parkouring up the side of the boat. And then Carmen unties Zach and Ivy, and she's like, "Oh, I needed the rope to climb up there." And this is another, it's super unrealistic, and it's kind of stupid. Carmen grabs an anchor, and anchors are heavy, especially on a boat this big. They wouldn't have little light ones. Anchors can weigh anywhere between 2 pounds and 500. This looks like a medium one. This probably weighs 25 pounds. Not light. And she's like, "Hey, Muscles, want to throw, basically use it as a grappling hook." And, I'm thinking, oh, she's talking to Zach. And then Ivy kind of pushes her way through. I'll do it because, of course, she's stronger than him. She chucks this thing 3 decks up.
A little help here, Muscles? Sure thing.
No. I want to just call shenanigans on this whole situation. It's ridiculous. And of course because Zackson, he's weak and I'm strong. She starts to climb it, and then Ivy's like, "Oh, wouldn't it be better if she had some type of grapple hook gun, something wrist mounted?" Smart. Again, it's very remember Taxi Driver? So a wrist mounted grappling hook. So are they alluding to the fact that Ivy makes her inventions for her gadgets? When did that happen? When was that ever established? But that's an odd thing to do. So Carmen's going after Lechev, and Zach and Ivy do the smart thing and go get the money. And they just stuff all this money in their jackets. All their clothes are just plumed up with money. And they're like, all this money's stolen. They're going to use it to buy stuff in Boston. We'll take our cut. And then they start throwing the money overboard to destroy it. They're like, "It's like our own Boston Tea Party." It's nothing like the Boston Tea Party. Lechev sees that they're doing that, and of course that's screwing up their operation. Still chasing after Carmen. They have their little fight, and this fight is okay. The actual animation is really well done. Look at this kick right here. Look how cool that is. You know, it's just all right. The chef ends up, they're still fighting over the plates because he has them like in a bag. And they kind of have this like little standoff, but she's quicker than he is. And she uses it, hit in the face. Those plates are heavy as hell. Probably would have dislocated his jaw. She ends up kicking him off Sparta style, knocks him into the water. And now they have the plates and the money. And so, job well done. They stop. This is their caper. They figured it out. Carmen's like, okay, she's going to just kind of move on to her next job. And she's telling those guys, hey, you know that money's stolen. You spend it, they're going to track you down, the cops are going to be on you. And they're like, oh yeah, whatever. So they dump off all their money. So they got nothing out of this. And they're like, wait a second. We didn't get the donut money. The shark's going to come get us. So we need to lay low or get the hell out of Boston. And so they realize, hey, why don't we just hook up with this girl? This woman apparently is doing stuff and we can help her out and we can like be her crew. So that's how they met. Hooray. We get to V.I.L.E, and that's when they first report then that Black Sheep Carmen is back. And Coach is, of course, pissed as hell because that's not how it was done. Like, oh, you betray family and all that. And then Shadow Son, we know he's a good guy, but back then he was still a bad guy. And he's like, oh, how much could one girl do? So he's very dismissive. But he like was kind of happy it was happening. We get back to the present day, and we find out that V.I.L.E's going to steal that supercar. It's fastest car in the world. So they're going to go to, did I say Dubai? And steal it before they do. And that's the end of the episode. All that could have been 5 minutes in another episode. Did we really need 22 minutes of all this backstory about them, being a racing team? And it isn't bad. Like, oh, that was a lot of bad things happened. I just thought it was kind of a waste of time. It didn't offend me. It didn't do anything really, really, really dumb. It just had a couple of dumb parts that were silly cartoon logic, which I guess I can forgive. But overall, just meh. This is probably the worst episode for me so far. But it's definitely not like awful where it's like, oh God, don't watch this episode. If you really like Zack and Ivy, if you're really into their backstory, I guess this would be good for you. But you can probably, skip most of this episode and get the whole story. Oh, they met during a job where they were stealing money. Boom, boom, boom. End of story.
I truly cannot fathom what possessed you to staff your crew with these unruly pranksters.
Crimson Saint here. Thanks for watching the video. If you're enjoying the content, be sure to sub, like, share, and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single upload. If you have any tips or story ideas, hit us up on Twitter at C15 Podcast, or better yet, join our Discord server, link in the description below.